Senator Harris mentioned about how much more candid Justice Ginsburg was. And with all due respect to Senator Harris, I don't agree with that. I think Justice Ginsburg established the Ginsburg rule for a reason. But what she cited in terms of evidence of candor was a very articulate statement by Justice Ginsburg as to why she embraced the pro-choice point of view. That's not being candid about the law. That's being candid about who you are. I think it's pretty clear to everybody who's been watching these hearings that you and your family are pro-life, that you are a practicing Catholic, and you adhere to the tenets of your faith. But I hope people also understand that you have made a pledge to the committee and to the country at large that you will set aside whatever religious views you have when it comes time to decide the law. There's already been an example in the Seventh Circuit where you upheld a legislative provision that restricted access to abortion clinics in terms of protesting. I think it's the Bubble case. So I'm highly confident that you will judge every American based on their case, not the law of Amy. And here's what is important to me. Senator Blackburn and Ernst are two conservative women on this committee. It is a very give-and-take society called America, but there's one group in America I think has had a hard time of it, and that's conservatives of color and women conservatives. There's an effort by some in the liberal world to marginalize the contribution because you come out on a different side of an issue, particularly abortion. So this hearing to me is an opportunity to not punch through a glass ceiling, but a reinforced concrete barrier around conservative women. You're going to shatter that barrier. I have never been more proud of a nominee than I am of you. You've been candid to this body about who you are, what you believe. You've been reassuring in your disposition, and this is history being made, folks. This is the first time in American history that we've nominated a woman who's unashamedly pro-life and embraces her faith without apology, and she's going to the court. Seat at the table is waiting on you, and it will be a great signal to all young women who share your view of the world that there's a seat at the table for them. This won't be celebrated in most places. It'd be hard to find much commentary about this moment in American history, but in many of our worlds, this will be celebrated. This has been a long time coming, and we have arrived. So I want to thank President Trump for giving you the opportunity to showcase your talents. Abortion. You were read some statements by, I think it's what's the name of the pro-life group, county?
The St. Joseph County Right to Life.
Okay. And you were asked by Senator Blumenthal, who I respect, whether or not their policy positions were illegal. Do you remember that?
I remember him asking me whether I accepted other policy positions on in vitro fertilization and whether it was a rejection of Roe.
Yeah. Well, I remember a exchange where they took a statement from that group or some other group arguing for the criminalization. Okay. Remember that? The criminalization of IVF, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And here's my problem with that analysis. That was a position taken by a pro-life county organization. It's not your job to pass judgment on the thoughts and beliefs of Americans, is it, as a Supreme Court justice?
No, it is not.
So when they argue that something should be criminal, they have a right to make that argument, right?
They do. It also wasn't in the ad that appeared next to the statement I sent.
The main thing is, how does something become criminal in our legal system in America?
When a legislative body passes a statute.
So here's what I want you to know. Statements by political organizations are not law. And what we've tried to do yesterday was turn a pro-life group into a legislative body and tried to get you to rule on their beliefs. I think that is a dangerous thing for Americans to be asking a judge to do, whether you're on the right or the left. Here's a statement from an organization I don't particularly agree with, and I want you to pass judgment as to whether or not that's legal. The question for you would be, if some legislative body tried to criminalize this procedure, then that would be subject to litigation in court. Is that correct?
That is correct.
A case in controversy doesn't arise because you disagree with a statement of a private person or a private group. Is that correct?
That is correct.
A case in controversy arises around criminal law when somebody passes a criminal statute. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Then and only then would you determine the constitutionality of that provision. Is that correct?
Well, actually, not even then. The statute would have to be enforced against somebody, so a prosecutor would have to try to hold someone criminally liable for getting IVF, for example.
So the case in controversy concept would have to mature.
Yes, there would be quite a lot of maturation required.
Yeah, before it got to the Supreme Court, if it ever did. So I just want every American to know it's not the judge of it's not the role of Supreme Court justice to pass judgment on your opinions. It's the role of a Supreme Court justice in very limited circumstances to pass judgment on laws passed by legislative bodies and in other circumstances, regulation, I would suppose. So we talked a lot about laws legalizing same-sex marriage. What's the name of the case?
Obergefell.
Okay. And you would, if anybody tried to change that precedent, one of the things you would look at is a reliance interest that people have formed around that piece of legislation.
Yes.
Same with Casey and Roe.
Yes.
Okay. So reaching a decision that the case was wrongly decided doesn't end the debate in terms of whether or not it should be repealed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And there is a very rigorous process in place to overturn precedent?
There is many factors, reliance being one.
Okay.